In January, I made the goal of reading one book a month. So far, I've failed with only reading one book, and it is May. But the thing about this book is I honestly think it might have been the best book ever written. And is that because the writing is good? No, not at all. The writing is honestly subpar, and descriptions are sometimes really hard to make out. But the messaging in this book is probably some of the best I've ever seen. And this is the third time me reading this book, and I honestly believe that this book might have been the most important book I have ever read. And if you're wondering what this book is, it's Fahrenheit 451. Books. Why do people love them so much? Is it because the stories, the knowledge, the information? I think everyone who loves books has a different answer, for everyone is different. But that's exactly why books are loved. There are a variety of different information, of stories, of knowledge out there. And in this book particularly, that is why books are hated. In 1953, Ray Bradbury published Fahrenheit 451. It's a futuristic story about how books are outlawed, and if anyone has books, they will be arrested and the books they had will burn. The main character is a fireman who does the burning of the books. A fireman named Guy Montag who lives in a world where everyone is distracted by noise, violence, and screens. Actually, while reading this book a third time, it made me extremely uncomfortable. For this book predicted AirPods, in the book they call it seashells, and people being glued to screens and just noise. In the story, Guy meets a girl next door that has a conversation with him that is very meaningful, changing his perspective on the world. And she has these conversations with him for about like a week and a half straight, and he enjoys them even though these kind of conversations are not normal. And the sad thing that he realizes after having these conversations and meeting this girl is that his relationship with his wife is not even a relationship. They're not even really friends. He doesn't really know her or remember how he met her. He realizes that no one ever really talks to each other. He'll see that the neighbors where this girl lives will have their lights on late at night and see that they're just conversing in the living room. When in his life, his wife is watching a bunch of screens and playing in a play and being told what to do and not really thinking. And the biggest thing that he realized is that he is miserable in this world. After that, the story follows Guy grappling with the fact that he is a fireman and he burns books, and starts to wonder why they burn books to begin with and why books are banned. And in this story, Guy battles with the fact that everyone in this world that he's in doesn't think, and it starts making him go a little bit mad and getting mad at just society in general. And the biggest thing of what he wants to cling to is books. In May 10th, 1933, Nazi-dominated school groups burned stacks and stacks of books that were deemed un-German. Now, this action scared Ray Bradbury, which indeed made him write the book that we have now. But why was it so scary? Why did it worry so many nations that Germans were burning stacks and stacks of books? I honestly think it's a simple answer. Knowledge is control. The thing about books is that there is knowledge within them, fictional and non-fictional alike. Every story that has ever been told, there's different perspectives that you can gain an understanding and knowledge from, even if it's a biography or a fictional fantasy novel. And even if you don't agree with the subject of the matter entirely. But the thing about books is that they make you think and come up with conclusions all on your own. Two people can read the same book and get two entirely different understandings of said book. For example, two people can read the Bible, and one will say that God is a ruthless deity, and the other can say God is merciful. So if your society wants you to be controlled, they can make the Bible illegal Bible, so you cannot come up with any conclusion of what is in the Bible on your own. So then, if the society tells you that God doesn't exist, and vice versa. If there is no way you can prove otherwise, there is no way you can come up with your own conclusion. That's why books are so important, that they can help people come up with their own conclusions and have their own thought process to help contribute to the world. It is good to have different opinions on different things. However, the story and characters of Fahrenheit 451 do not want this, because if they have to think, they can't be selfish anymore. A scene that impacts me heavily in this book is when Montag's wife invites her friends over to watch a program, and while sitting they talk about marriage like it's nothing and children as an inconvenience. One of them is a mother, and she explains that having children is not too bad at all. You send them away to school for most of the day, and then when they come home you set them in front of the screen so you don't have to interact with them a lot. That doesn't sound like something going on today at all. Then the other friend explains that she has had 3 husbands and doesn't feel sad about losing them at all. One of them even died in war, and the husband she currently has is off in the war that has been going on, by the way, this entire book. And he told her that if he dies, just find another husband, like it was nothing. All the while I sat and felt mortified. They talked more about the inconvenience of having children or a husband. They didn't talk about them caring for their children or caring for their husband. They just talked about, oh, it's so annoying. They don't even care about the people they're meant to care the most about. And the thing is that as you're reading this, is Montag's character clearly feels the same way, of just mortified that people do not care about each other, especially the people they're meant to care the most about. The girl Clarice at the beginning of the story that was introduced to Montag sadly at one point dies, and how Montag even finds out is that he has to bring it up to his wife, and his wife even seems annoyed that he is bringing her up. Nonchalantly, Mildred says that the girl got hit by a car right outside their door and that the family moved right after that. And she only tells Montag this after he asks her multiple times what happened to the neighbors. And then after they have the conversation, she basically forgets it even happened, that the conversation was a conversation, and just goes back to being distracted by her seashells, which are AirPods pretty much. And in the story, most of the time, Mildred pesters Montag about getting a 4th wall. And what the walls are in this book are basically ceiling to floor TVs for people to watch and interact with pretend actors who you get like a script in the mail and you just read the script, and it's very basic dialogue. And she wants a 4th wall to be put up in their living room when Montag says that they had already spent like a bunch of money on a 3rd wall really recently and they can't afford a 4th one. But Mildred is so adamant about getting a 4th wall. Empathy, bare minimum sympathy, is never talked about in this story, and is seen as an inconvenience, if anything, if someone else is having a hard time. All everyone cares about in this story is being entertained. Multiple characters, especially Montag's Boggs, believe that bringing in books and thought will only hurt society, and having no thought is a good thing, because with thoughts, ideas, and debates, it can bring suffering to others. We see this online all the time. If someone disagrees with you, it causes conflict. But I don't really think that's a bad thing, because it means that you just have different ideas and different opinions. But in this book, the society believes that having no conflict at all is better than disagreeing with someone. But in this book, it shows that it's better to discuss something and feel something for others than not. Because without free thought, what's the point of living? Because without books to help grow creativity, imagination, knowledge, and wisdom, and more, what is the point of just life? If we cannot have discussions on different opinions or thought process, what is the point of even thinking? There is none. And without thought, how can we grow as people? Looking at this story nowadays feels scary. Ray Bradbury basically predicted the future, which is kind of crazy. Ray Bradbury basically predicted all the way back in 1953 that people would be very distracted by screens, that they would forget to enjoy life and books and just be living in the moment with others and just appreciating life. And the more scary realization as I read this book is I can see this society in Fahrenheit 451 becoming more and more of a reality every day. But I think the most important thing about this book that it teaches is that no matter how far it has come in society where it feels like they have lost the plot, you can still do something about it and you can keep moving forward and try to make some change. And we've already seen this in Gen Z. Gen Z adults are already saying that they are not going to allow their children to have iPads and just free access to the internet whenever. We've already seen that shift. People are realizing if we go down this path of always being distracted, always using screens, never reading, never having civil conversations, we are doomed to collapse as a society. The entire time while reading the book, in the background of the story, there is talk about a war that is going on that is persisting and getting worse, but no one really talks or says anything about it. And then at the end of the book, the city that Montag lived in is bombed, and no one did anything to try to avoid it. I believe a way to prevent us going down the same path as this story is honestly to keep reading. Read books you don't agree with. Read books just for fun. Read non-fictional, read fictional, and discuss it with others. Make book clubs, listen to other people's perspectives, and critically think about what they're saying and what the book is saying and if you agree with the book or disagree with the book. Live life day by day and notice things around you. Put away your phone and have just screen-free days and find different things to do where you're not always distracted by dopamine and a screen. Be by yourself with your thoughts and journal and figure out who you are as a person and what you truly believe in life. And encourage others to do this also. Because if we stop letting different thoughts and perspectives flow in this world, we will be lost as a society. And the future that this book predicts might as well come true. But of course, if we fail, we can keep moving forward and build on what we remembered. To quote the book from 146 to 147, from a character that Montag meets that is similar to him, it says, "But that's the wonderful thing about man. He never gets so discouraged or disgusted that he gives up doing it all over again because he knows very well it is important and worth doing."